Anyway, there's a bunch of shit popping off.
Ticketmaster got a grilling from senators yesterday over the recent meltdown when Taylor Swift tickets went on sale for her latest tour. The company's domination of ticket sales for live events also came under scrutiny. Nicole Killian spoke to lawmakers and fans who want to make sure there isn't another meltdown.
It's me. Hi, I'm the problem, it's me.
Using Taylor Swift's lyrics,
Ticketmaster ought to look in the mirror and say, I'm the problem. It's me.
senators blame Ticketmaster for botching.
Oh my God! Stop! Oh my fucking. Okay, yesterday the Senate held a hearing about Ticketmaster's monopoly power, prompted in part by the platform's mishandling of a Taylor Swift concert. They activated the Swifties, okay? And Swifties are a stan community that revolves around a white woman, okay? So they are going to be a little bit more powerful than other stan communities, specifically in the United States of America, for obvious reasons. Come on. Not saying that like Swifties are racist or anything. I'm just saying that in a white supremacist country, if you have stan culture and you have been able to activate a lot of white ladies, you now have one of the most powerful coalitions, one of the most active coalitions, one of the most powerful coalitions in the country. Okay? I am terrified of the Swifties. I do not want their wrath. I love them. I'm a big fan of Taylor Swift. I like everybody, okay? Just for the record. Anyway, so what did billionaire-owned Bloomberg and Washington Post write about? In their op-ed section, Taylor Swift can stop slagging Ticketmaster. The much maligned ticket seller isn't perfect, but an intervention from Congress won't help consumers or stars like Swift. Washington Post also posted the same Bloomberg article. Taylor Swift can stop slagging Ticketmaster. I fucking love this country. Oh my God. They are so transparent. The media's role is to simply protect capital, okay? It is not to attack capital, but it is rather to protect capital. They're like, oh, come on. This monopoly, it should exist. It's actually good, please. Good, actually. Here, More Perfect Union also obviously has a great 10-minute video on the process. We'll talk about the lawmakers, and then we'll get to the Actually, you know what? Let's start with this first.
Springsteen fans were outraged to find that ticket prices for his current tour was high as $5,000.
Springsteen's fans have never felt cheated until now.
$5,000 a piece.
$5,000.
Would you really?
This is Springsteen fans. That's why Fox News is covering this. Springsteen fans are, apolitical. They're older.
Pay $5,000 to go see your favorite band?
No.
I can't do that.
That's a bit much.
We can thank a predatory new business practice for that. It was introduced by Ticketmaster, and they call it dynamic pricing. It's an experimental technique, and it's pissed off everyone, from fans to venues to performers themselves, including the boss.
Bro, dynamic pricing is just another way to say price gouging. Okay? That's it. That's what this is. And the funniest part about this is that like people get mad at this stuff and they say price gouging, whatever. But like that's how capitalism works. This is just more capitalism built on top of the regular amount of capitalism. You're getting mad at more capitalism. Uber does this. Airlines do this all the fucking time. It's just the same thing. What do you mean? It's supply and demand. We're just doing supply and demand.
So, how can Ticketmaster get away with it? Because they are the bullies of the music industry playground. Ticketmaster and Live Nation, which is the same company, but we'll get to that later, can basically do...
Like, if you think this isn't happening in every facet of your existence, I don't know what to tell you. Why the fuck do you think egg prices are what they are currently? Why the fuck do you think the price of flour is up 50%? Okay? Where? Why is that happening? Why do you think that's happening? It's not just the avian flu, okay? It's not just the avian flu. I'm talking about every other thing that you consume, every other consumable thing that you eat that is not impacted by the avian flu. Is that not just inflation? How do you think inflation happens? we've been talking about this, and people that are infinitely smarter than me, like Robert Reich, has been talking about corporate consolidation and its impacts on making price gouging a permanent feature of the American economy, of the global economy, as a matter of fact, as a consequence of corporate consolidation for years. That's it. That's just, it's not, inflation just means consumer price index implies key goods that you need to consume to survive have gone up in price. That's what inflation is. That's just simply what that is. But the way people learn about inflation in the media makes it seem like it's magic. It's not. It's not magic, bro. You are wrong. Sorry. Biden is responsible for inflation. Bro, you are wrong. Sorry. Okay. Ultimately, people make it seem as though corporations have no other choice but to increase prices of key goods, right? Ultimately, corporations could choose not to do such a thing, okay? Maybe take a hit on their profit margins, but they don't do that. They keep increasing the prices. So if that was the case, if this was motivated by this like unshakable rule, if this was like a natural law, okay? If this was like gravity, inflation was like gravity, then you wouldn't see prices go up for things like the oil barrel, okay, or crude oil, even if the demand was stable or even if the supply was stable, okay? But that's not how this works. There is so much uncertainty involved in the pricing process. And that is because monopolies, like obvious monopolies like the cartel that you consider to be OPEC, have complete control over supply and even complete control over the pricing. In other places, in other instances, in other avenues, areas where you do not think that there is this corporate consolidation or an actual cartel like OPEC just personally saying, we're going to control the price here, okay? You have still functionally oligopolies, which are identical to how OPEC operates. That's it. What do you think it means when there are 6 mega corporations that control pretty much the entirety of your entirety of food choices? When you go to the grocery store and there is like 1,000 different brands of fucking cookies and shit, those are still all coming from like 3 to 5 to 6 different corporations. That's it. Do you know how easy it is to manipulate prices amongst 6 corporations? An example I use regularly and routinely is airliners, okay? There used to be a lot more airline companies in the United States of America, but corporate consolidation and monopolization has created a process where there are, unfortunately, usually one fucking airline for certain markets, not more than one, just one. Okay? In other places, you have 2 or 3, max. Now, when your 3 airlines get together, they can very easily apply the same practices. They don't have to get behind a closed door, a cigar smoke-filled room, and decide, all right, you see, we need to change the prices of the airplane tickets together. It's called price leadership. One airline does it, and then the other airline follows, and then the other airline follows through. Okay? When there's no competition whatsoever, they do this thing called price leadership. Okay? They cut certain aspects, or they make you pay for certain aspects. They paywall certain aspects of the trip. They add insurance. They add a whole bunch of hokum to try to take more money from your pockets for the same exact services they're providing. So when one company does it, every other company follows. That's known as price leadership. It is very different legally than price fixing, which would be illegal, except it's the exact fucking same thing. There's just no backdoor deal. Okay? This happens in every facet of your existence. Everything that you touch, everything that you consume has some level of price leadership baked into the prices, and that's how inflation happens. That's how corporations, agricultural providers, which, by the way, are only sustainable as a consequence of the American government subsidies. Remember that. People say there's no central planning happening in the United States of America. That's not true. There is absolutely central planning, especially in big agri, which is over-reliant on the United States government subsidies that are being paid for by your taxpayer dollars, okay? Those companies decide to control, manipulate the supply of food, okay? And they decide what the prices of food is going to be. That's it. It's not controlled by invisible levers or some shit. It's not magic. It's not something that companies can't do or can't, insure themselves against. It's just done deliberately because they can get away with it. In the absence of government regulation, companies will always try to squeeze more dollars out of you, the consumer. That's how it works. Luckily for the consumers, however, there is one thing. Like at the top of the hour when there's a 3-minute ad break, inflated number of ads, you can still get a $5 a month subscription and avoid those ad breaks at the top of the hour. Now, there's one other way. If you don't have $5, you probably have an Amazon Prime account that you can connect to your Twitch account and use on your favorite broadcaster. Hopefully that's me. You can use a Twitch Prime for free to avoid the inflated ad breaks at the top of the fucking hour. You can also get gifted a sub if you are lucky. Hasanabi Hey Watcher, thank you for the 5 get the subs. MP Sharky, thank you for the 5 get the subs. Allowing 10 people to no longer see the ads at the top of the hour. Okay. Mark Maddock, thank you for the 10 gifted subs. Allowing another 10 to no longer see the 3-minute ad break. Here's the 3-minute ad break now. Here.
Are owned by the same 5 companies.
Junior Turtle, thank you for the 5
from
gifted.
Smallest to largest. Number 5 is Kellogg's Group that controls 30% of global cereal market and owns brands like Pringles and Pop-Tarts. Finally, it's the first company to advertise on Times Square and the first cereal to go to space. All of these iconic brands are actually owned by one company, Monopolies International, that was incorporated just in 2012. The third company owns all of these products and is actually one of the world's largest family-owned corporations. So the Mars family still owns 100% of Mars stock. PepsiCo Group is actually 3 times larger than the Coca-Cola Group, and it has all of these brands in its portfolio. Number 1 is the biggest food company,
including Mountain Dew, baby,
in the world with $100 billion in yearly revenue. It's called Nestle, and it comes from Switzerland, dates back to 1860s. It owns Nescafe, Kit Kat, whole bunch of sparkling water, Nesquik, and 2,000 other brands. All of these brands are owned by the same 5 companies.
There you go. You think you have a choice. You think you have so many different variations, which you do, but they're still all owned by 5 fucking mega corporations.
Whatever they want, because they have seized control over every aspect of the live music industry by creating a monopoly. This ticketing cartel has the power to destroy venues and artists who refuse to work with them. They even have their own resale platform, and they encourage and incentivize ticket resellers to gouge fans. All of these exploitative practices make Ticketmaster execs very, very rich. Live Nation CEO Michael Rapino made $70.6 million in 2017. That's one of the largest CEO pay packages ever. But here's the twist. This entire monopoly was helped along and enabled by our elected leaders.
Food is the cheapest it's ever been, so I'll take that over socialist famines. Thank you. Food is only cheap as a consequence of publicly funded research that has made it incredibly easy, or much easier, given tools to everyone to be able to produce food in the agricultural business. You also failed to gloss over the fact that I already mentioned that in the United States of America and also worldwide, that food and agricultural production is still very much centrally planned. You're a fucking dummy. Your tax dollars are literally subsidizing the food industry, the agricultural industry. That is literally how food prices are the way they are, okay? Your tax dollars end up creating the food that comes to your table. You end up paying more because the companies decide to force you to pay more. Holy fuck, you are so stupid. Why are you so stupid? You are literally the peasant. You are the peasant. You have peasant brain. You do not understand what I'm saying. This is insanity. Okay, so subsidies are bad now. Is that what I said, you fucking idiot? I said if you're subsidizing it, and the government should be working at the government should be serving you, not the interests of corporations. Shut the fuck up! You're too stupid. Why? Why can't human beings, which I assume you still have a brain, why can't human beings with a brain turn around and be like, you know what? I misunderstood this entire process. You were right. I was wrong. I'll hold the L in dignity. Why can't you just do that? I'm very understanding when people apologize. You thought this was a good fucking return? You thought this was a good counter to just make some shit up? I'm also talking about food that your parents are trying to fucking pay for your dumbass to survive. That is what's mind-boggling to me. You are being impacted by this. You're paying for it and you're being fucked over, and you still come in here and you go, hup, shut the fuck up, idiot. If I want to pay more for my food, I will. It's your chicken nuggies, man.
So how do we get to a point where the people in charge of preventing monopolies are enabling monopolies? And more importantly, how can we take back power from Ticketmaster and their monopolistic brethren? Let's take a look.
It's also the funniest because they're like, central planning communism has created famine, which is far worse than the artificially created famine that capitalism has created at a time when we have an abundance of food supply but refuse to handle the logistics of making sure that every single person is well fed. I much prefer the artificial man-made famine, brother. That's what I want. I want to make sure that human beings are dying, 14 million a goddamn year, as a matter of fact, are dying by our own demise, by our own hands. It's so much better than when communist nations have fucked up. It's better. Why? Because we're doing it for profit. We're doing it to teach those children in Yemen a lesson. Okay?
I'm Cory Doctorow, and this is The Classroom from More Perfect Union. I'm going to have to give you a brief history lesson on antitrust law. That's the government's toolbox for fighting monopolies. I wrote a whole book about it. It's called Choke Point Capitalism, and I wrote it with my friend Rebecca Giblin. Now, the glory years of antitrust were right after FDR's New Deal. The government saw that monopolies weakened worker power, and so they set to breaking up these giant corporations and to preventing future monopolies from forming. Back then, monopolies were viewed as a threat to the very idea of democratic citizenship. Then in the 1970s, a conservative legal scholar named Robert Bork and his pals at the University of Chicago School of Economics started spreading a very different view of antitrust. They said, forget about all that high-minded crap about democracy and citizenship. Instead, anti-monopoly regulators should limit themselves to thinking about consumer welfare. Basically, they focused on short-term goals like lowering prices rather than promoting competition in and of itself, and most importantly, preventing the gross power abuses of monopolies. Antitrust enforcement fell by the wayside as a priority. The Democratic Party platform didn't even mention antitrust once between 1992 and 2016. This is what allowed for the growth of monopolies in every industry: meatpacking, tech, banking, finance, eyeglasses, cheerleading, beer, and in 2010, the music industry. For 15 years prior to their merger, Ticketmaster was the dominant provider of ticketing services in America, controlling 80% of the market. Live Nation was the largest concert promoter in America. They controlled America's biggest concert venues and the artists themselves. They managed 200 major artists from Miley to Willie. And Live Nation was Ticketmaster's #1 customer. Live Nation used Ticketmaster to sell tickets for venues and artists that Live Nation managed. But in 2007, Live Nation thought, hey, maybe we should build our own ticketing platform. Ticketmaster did not like that, and so just 2 years later, Live Nation and Ticketmaster announced a merger. Which sounds like a clear antitrust problem. Isn't someone supposed to be on top of that?
No, because in the United States of America, antitrust only kicks in, which it rarely ever does, really, if it becomes a problem for the consumers, consumer pricing, as they mentioned already. We have a very unique approach to monopolization of key sectors in this goddamn country. It's not about like what percentage of the commerce is being led by what number of companies, but instead about how it impacts customers. That's why Amazon can maintain its monopoly on e-commerce.
At the time, the Obama DOJ's top antitrust cop was Christine Varney, who...
Of course, the reason why I say it doesn't even kick in with consumer pricing protections is because that's why we're here. This is the problem. It's not. Of course it's not. Because the government does not work at the behest of the citizens and regulate corporations. The government works at the behest of corporations. Okay? So, of course, when companies monopolize and they are desperately trying to find new ways of generating profit and increase profits, as profit rates have a tendency to decline, okay, or no matter what happens, they are going to slowly but surely keep increasing prices, okay? They're going to keep increasing prices over and over again. And at a certain point, it's going to get to a situation where consumers are impacted by this. Consumers do recognize it. But then you say, that's just inflation, dude. That's just inflation. Well, we have a way to deal with it. It's just considered to be authoritarian, too authoritarian. It's considered to be unimaginably un-American.
Said, I understand that consolidation has been going on in the industry for some time. Those are meaningful concerns, but many of them are not antitrust concerns. So there you go. The two most powerful companies in the live music industry join forces, and it's not an antitrust concern. They were slapped with a few restrictions when they merged. A few. Antitrust mostly relies on two kinds of remedy: structural and conduct. Structural remedies are about actually breaking up parts of a giant consolidated empire. Conduct remedies are about changing behavior, regulating anti-competitive business practices, and regulating how giant companies wield their power. Conduct remedies are pretty ineffective because they're really hard to actually enforce. The consent decree that the Ticketmaster Live Nation corporate empire got was a mix of structural and conduct remedies, but essentially it all boiled down to a pinky swear. Live Nation had to promise that they wouldn't use their power over events and venues to grow their ticketing dominance. The combined company violated their consent decree with impunity because, like a playground bully, they had created a culture of fear where no one else in the live music industry would speak out against them. When we interviewed people for our book, we always gave them the option not to be named, but almost nobody took us up on it, except for those people we spoke to about Live Nation. In most cases, those sources were anxious about even speaking off the record. There's no conduct remedy that can address that kind of power. Structural remedies are more effective because they force monopolies to break off portions of their power. Ticketmaster was forced to sell portions of their empire to much smaller companies, but it was barely a dent. Now, 12 years later, we're seeing a company whose power is so vast that they can sell $5,000 tickets to see the guy who sings, "Poor men want to be rich, rich men want to be king, and the king ain't satisfied till he rules everything." We do mean everything. They've also dominated the ticket resale business. They have their own resale software. It's called Trade Desk, and in 2018, an investigation revealed that Ticketmaster had encouraged and incentivized resellers to set enormously high ticket resale prices. Ticketmaster loves resales for one simple reason: they get to charge their service fees twice. And those resales net them a second, more lucrative fee on the same product, the one they've already sold once. Live music isn't the only creative industry that has fallen prey to giant monopolies. Just 3 massive conglomerates own the major labels and publishers that control the world's music. Those labels design the streaming industry, which is dominated by Spotify.
Complaining about Ticketmaster is the most first world problem ever. You're a fucking idiot, dude. This problem isn't just about Ticketmaster. That's why I brought up agricultural production. That's why I brought up transportation. It's literally every... Breathe. Okay. Chatters. This is like when I talk about TikTok banning me. It's not like a petty grievance that I have because I can't post like sexy thirst traps on a fucking social media platform. Please understand that there is always a larger problem at hand, and this is just the most accessible form of that problem. You do not come across like a more intelligent person or an intellectual when you criticize one avenue that we're talking about when it's a literal systemic issue. This is about monopolization. Fuck, man. Why? Why are you like this? Why? Why is it so hard for you to comprehend that this is an example, one that touches people, okay? And one that you can immediately understand.
Spotify, which itself was partially owned by those.
Having 3 companies controlling the commerce is not a monopoly. Why are they considered monopolies? No, they're considered oligopolies if you want to be a fucking semantics nerd about it, but it doesn't matter because an oligopoly controlling the entire marketplace is nearly identical to a monopoly controlling the entire marketplace because there is a concept called price leadership, like I mentioned. What the fuck is wrong with you guys, man? This fucks you, dishwasher safe. This fucks your ass, okay? Are you Mr. Universal Music? Is your dad John Universal? You are not benefiting from this. You are getting fucked by this. You're getting ass fucked and you're going, please, my lord, I like it. I read an econ textbook. And in the textbook, my lord, it said free companies owning a market is not a monopoly, even if the impact to consumers is identical to a monopoly through a very legal process known as price leadership, my lord. It's not price fixing. I deserve to pay more for the same process because the corporate leaders decided I can. I very much like it, liberal. Have you considered I like getting ass fucked every day without my consent? Holy shit. It's like the easiest thing to grasp, okay? It's the easiest thing to grasp. You are not coming across as like brilliant, bold, okay? You're a fucking idiot. You're just stupid. You're getting fucked over. You're a cuck. You're being cucked. You're defending getting fucked.
Those 3 same labels. Now that Disney owns 21st Century Fox, just one company controls 35% of the US box office. The publishing industry is controlled by 5 big companies. That number was 6 when we started writing our book, and if they get their way, it'll soon be 4. That's just wildly quick consolidation. Yes, it's always been hard to be an artist, but the difference today is that corporations are extracting the maximum capital from artists' labor, and they're not sharing it anymore. We creative workers, we know that our music, movies, and other culture markets are in trouble. In the past, we were told to rely on copyright if we were going to hold on to our rights and our values. But copyright does nothing to solve a problem like Ticketmaster. Giving us more copyright in these monopolized markets is like giving more lunch money to your kid who's getting his lunch money taken off of him by bullies every day. No matter how much money you give him, the bullies are going to take that money every day too. And the problem isn't just that artists are getting ripped off, and it's not just that fans and small business owners are getting ripped off. It's that monopoly threatens the overall health of our democracy itself. Now, I've got good news. The Biden administration took a strong stance against monopoly power.
Yeah, right. I forgot. I probably should have mentioned the one aspect that is like the one thing that like everyone on Twitch personally understands. ISPs. You pay a fuckload. You pay a fuckload of money to make sure that you have internet speeds, and your internet breaks off all the time. The government has offered billions of dollars of tax credits to ISPs to build fiber optic cables all around the country. That has never happened. There are laws that are supposed to prevent your ISP from throttling you when you are using too much bandwidth. All of those things still happen. The reason why you have dog shit internet is because of the exact same thing that I just mentioned. Okay? Price leadership and oligopolies controlling every marketplace. The reason why you can't go to AT&T or Cox or Xfinity or whatever the fuck in your market is because one ISP controls your market. Okay? It's an ISP thing, not a tech thing. What? I build the shit that gives you internet. It's an ISP thing, not a tech thing. Wait, what? What is happening right now? I know you're agreeing with me, but like nobody said it was a tech thing. Anyway. So if you don't like your internet service providers, understand that it's not your internet service providers in general, it's capitalism that has created this system, okay? That's it.
Remember when we were talking about the prevalence of Bork and that theory of antitrust that said we shouldn't do anything unless prices are going up? This administration came out against that sort of thinking, and they handed down an executive order that charged the DOJ to police monopolies and protect consumer autonomy and privacy. That's an admission that monopolies are about more than just prices. If they're serious about this, the Ticketmaster monopoly has to be on the DOJ's agenda. We need to break up the bullies. Ticketmaster bullies venues into not working with their competitors. They bully smaller artists by denying them management. They bully big artists by controlling their ticket prices and letting their fans down. And they bully customers into paying exorbitant prices for tickets, not only by enabling resellers, but by collecting massive fees on every ticket those resellers sell. All of this amounts to an environment where competition has been totally removed from the live music ecosystem, making it worse for everyone except Ticketmaster and Live Nation executives who are making millions of dollars a year. We have to act now. Biden's DOJ should take up and review this case due to Ticketmaster's continued violation of their consent decree. We need to unwind this monopoly and break them up.
So here's where we're at with lawmakers and their take on Ticketmaster over Taylor Swift's pre-sale debacle.
A pre-sale rollout last year for the pop star's upcoming tour.
The way your company handled the ticket sales for Ms. Swift was...
Even if you broke up Ticketmaster, one of those companies would inevitably become a monopoly and the cycle will start over? No, as long as the government literally stops companies from doing that like they were intended to do with antitrust laws, no, it would not happen. Yes, every industry, no matter what it is always going to have one leader that wants to monopolize because they want to improve their profit margins. Okay, I get that. That's precisely why you need to regulate it. That's precisely why you need to have a say.
It's a debacle.
The president of Live Nation Entertainment, which operates Ticketmaster, told the Senate Judiciary Committee the concert promoter anticipated high demand, but computerized bots attacked their system.
The attack requires to slow down and even pause our sales. This is what led to a terrible consumer experience, which we deeply regret.
As a ode to Taylor Swift, I will say we know all too well.
Senator Amy Klobuchar led Wednesday's hearing and said the issue goes beyond the ticket fiasco.
Unfortunately, with Ticketmaster, because they're a monopoly, for most concerts, there is just one choice.
Do you think these companies, Ticketmaster and Live Nation, need to be broken?
This is literally every aspect of your life. Oligopolies, okay, exist in nearly every facet of your existence. Everything that you consume, everything that you touch is being created by like 3 to 4 companies max. That's it. So next time you wonder why things are so costly, why the price of living is going up over and over again, recognize that the government has refused to interfere when its job is quite literally to intervene.
That is definitely something that should be on the table.
Other senators suggested capping ticket prices or providing consumers with greater transparency on extra fees.
Come on, guys.
Jen Landry traveled all the way from Houston to protest outside of the hearing after waiting 10 hours.
Look at this bullshit.
And paying almost $800 for Swift's show.
It was bittersweet. I have not celebrated getting tickets yet because...
This is why it's a big stink that the government is now maintaining, or the government is now talking about, by the way. This is the average Taylor Swift fan. Very powerful voter, okay? Important constituency, white women. You understand? That's huge. White women vote for both the Republican Party. White women vote for the Democratic Party. Okay? They're very, very important.
There are so many fans that didn't get them.
For CBS Mornings, I'm Nicole Killian on Capitol Hill.
If we got white women to consume, like to recognize this, dude, okay? If we got white women to recognize this shit, dude, we would break every fucking monopoly in this goddamn country. We would have like global communism instituted. Why doesn't antitrust kick in once the prices start to go up? Because monopolies are raising prices. Sorry, I'm kind of stupid. Because the entire purpose of like consumer pricing related antitrust laws were already a trick to get the all too powerful corporations to continue monopolizing key sectors at will. There was no real like government intervention that was coming anyway. They don't care. They have too much power. Yeah, but that's like 10 companies there. We should be all right. Yeah, hell yeah, brother. You're right, brother. You got Nestle, PepsiCo, General Mills, Kellogg's, Associated British Foods, Mondelez International, formerly known as Kraft Foods, Mars, Danone, Unilever, Coca-Cola, and Nestle. That's too many. How dare you? How dare you claim that these motherfuckers are ever controlling what the fuck you controlling the prices of what the fuck you eat? Tesla investor call live right now. Oh, did it start? I've been waiting on this all day.